Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the
To
flag
the flag of the United States
of
States of
America,
and to the republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice for all.
for all.
You guys want to do a prayer? Pete, you're up. Prayer.
Oh, Lord, bless us assembled here as we work on Kiwanis projects to help make life better for kids around the world. Amen.
Amen. Perfect. Okay. So
You want me to give you a count, some numbers or anything?
yeah, let's know. My phone has told me that there's dues due to Kiwanis International, which doesn't tell me that that's right, but I figured it's
No.
worth an update on numbers and
I'll
where
give
we
you
are,
that.
dues, what, due schedule and all that.
Yeah, Kiwanis International, we have until October, the Kiwanis year starts October 1st, which was last Friday. So the Kiwanis, we are now in the 2021 Kiwanis, 21-22 Kiwanis year now. And they give us 10 days till 10th of October to drop anybody that is not that we want to. And then after that, they bill the treasurer, the secretary for the treasurer gets a bill in the mail for all of the members that are active, all of the active members. And that's last year, I'm not sure if the dollars usually change a little bit every year.
Mhm.
Last year it was $107 a member. And I believe that was 70 international dues and $37 Florida district dues. So we should get a bill for about $110 times 11 people. We have 12, including Becky here, but Becky's an honorary member. And we paid $8 to add her last year. Now, whether they do that every year, I do not know, because this is a new experience for us.
Right.
But the club pays that. And but the rest of us, as far as our dues, that's why I was trying to make sure we collected our last quarter of, that we've been billing ourselves $30 a piece per
Right.
quarter, which is about 120 a year. And that covers the international dues, which is soon to be upon us every year, plus some odds and ends and incidentals. And so I expect to get a invoice in the mail for maybe $1,177, if it's the same as last year. We currently have $1,589.67 in our admin account, the administrative account, and that's where that 1177 will come out of that. So we'll have about $412 left over out of that. So we'll be good. We had 12 members plus Becky plus our honorary. We had 13. Joe Brinson is not responsive. I've called him, I've emailed him. And lately, the email came back, it's been in the queue too long. So it had been.
His email was a work email, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had a local one too.
Okay.
And I had a Gmail account for him too. And so I had his work phone number, so I called it the other day, and they said he hasn't worked there in months.
Well, remember, he kind of stopped being responsive when he switched jobs.
Yeah, and so I don't know, and I've left voice messages for him, and emails and invoices. He's back about $80 on us. So, but some of that was, to the foundation and things like that. So it wasn't all dues. And he did sell some flowers way back when we were selling flowers in the spring, early spring.
Because it was about May when he switched jobs, right?
I'm not sure. Could be. But he hasn't responded to any invoices I've sent him or any emails, anything like that. So I dropped him. So we don't have to pay that, get stuck with that bill on him. If he comes back or suddenly appears again in the next week or two or month, I'll just add him back.
Right.
And then they'll bill me $107, you know.
Does that require a motion?
To charge him?
I don't think that requires.
No, to drop him.
Oh,
I don't think, well, I don't know.
I mean, I think from a financial standpoint,
It just
it's
is
probably not a bad, a decent action. And then we try to reach out to them in other ways, and maybe somebody else, maybe I'll try them.
Hey, last year and late in the year, you know, like October or so, Lynette wanted to change clubs and she wanted some recommendations. And I said, well, why don't you try downtown? Because she was moving to San Marco area. So she tried that. She said, okay. And so I dropped her before the end of the year, dropped her in September. And then a couple months later, she got back to me and she said, you know, that's not working out for me. I'd like to come back. So I added her back and they billed me. So it's not a problem. In fact, we can talk about Lynette now if you want to. We'll.
Yeah, that was on my list that I didn't want to put on from because I didn't want it to go to her to see if we did anything. So I was looking for her email, but ultimately she's had a baby about 5 months ago. I think she said she was
5 weeks ago.
5 weeks ago. Sorry, 5 weeks ago. Where the email up would have helped. I was looking at the directory. So I think it'd be nice if we did something for her from that standpoint. Anyway, a couple,
Yeah.
you know, a couple bags of diapers or something, and maybe a stuffed animal and a card or something.
Yeah.
And I think she said when life gets back to normal, she'd like to become a little bit more active.
Mhm.
I assume everybody is good with something to that degree, right?
Yeah, I think we should do that.
I agree.
And at least her address is on the directory, right? So we could drop it off to her, get it to her.
Mhm. Yeah, that's an 07. So I think that's San Marco. I know. Because she was living in more south, more
Right.
this way before.
So, okay. So, I know Peggy said she was willing to do some of that. So, anybody want to take a lead on that? You want me to jump with her?
No, I just think something, yeah,
I'll get with Peggy and figure out what she
Yeah.
had in mind.
you should use your good judgment.
Okay. And I think the email said she had a boy, right? Is that right?
No, I think it was no, it's a girl. I
A
thought.
girl?
But
You have a 50-50 chance.
At some point I'll find the email. Okay. So we'll look at that and do that, and I'll get with Peggy on that. Next thing is, probably more for Becky's sake in this meeting than anybody else, because I think the three of us were there. So when we had our last in-person meeting, and we got some pins for being, Pete, correct me on the term, or help me with the term on it, but ultimately we've all paid into the foundation and given some money to the foundation. that does donations.
sustaining member, I think, just
Any member.
$25 a piece. And after we did that, of course, they dropped the price. And so we were double.
We're supreme sustaining members. So there were a couple grants that he presented to us that are out there. And there are a couple that are not matching. And I'll throw a little bit more history in it. We hadn't been sustaining members for a while because ultimately we ended up years ago with we were trying to use it to help fund some of our Key Club scholarships, and they wouldn't approve scholarships because they give scholarships. So
Well, they did for a couple of years. They were going 50-50. We were trying to do a $750 scholarship or $1,000, I think. And we were asking them for half of that. Club would have cover the other half, because grants usually are, joint. That it's not a freebie. And they did it for a couple of years, and all of a sudden one year they said, no, we have our own scholarships, so we're not going to give to another scholarship fund. We said, fine.
It'd been a while since we had, but they've come back around and said, Carl said he'd be open to that. We've jumped into being sustaining members again. So we presented a few scholarships. One that stood out is, and I don't know the right avenue to approach this necessarily. You might know some options a little bit better, but there's one called the David and Donna Battling Fund. They've got two funds, but one.
Yeah, it's pronounced Baitlin.
Baitlin, excuse me.
Just like, go ahead.
So they've got two funds. I think one's $1,000 if I remember, but the one that stood out is it's a non-matching grant for $10,000 that supports leadership development for young people with physical disabilities. So they have this $10,000 grant out that if we can find a way to use that effectively for an area of need of kids with physical disabilities, that might be a good way to give back. They've got a couple deadlines during the year. The next deadline for an application is December 15th. So for example, Beaches Club just did that, just applied for and got that grant, and they're building, I think they were looking at one project, got with their city council folks or some leaders in the community and built a kind of a park, within a park, a little station park setup for folks with physical disabilities to have interaction and almost like a playground for folks with physical disabilities, as one example of a way to do it. So I don't know if we want to think on that a little more and see if we can come up with ideas that, if it's free money that we could help people with, see if we can find a way to use it, or if we have any ideas to start with. I also thought of talking to Bert, who is one of our members, who also has a charity called Dylan's Dreams in honor of his son that had cystic fibrosis. Excuse me.
Well, Dylan's Dreams. I can interrupt you there. That's Bert's son, and he passed away. So he's dealing with his dreams. He's doing things, in his memory.
It's a memorial to his son who died pretty quickly after he graduated high school, if I remember correctly, right?
Well, yeah, but he was disabled all his life.
You're right. Had cystic fibrosis, and obviously that impacts with this.
He didn't live 20 years. So,
so I thought about. I reached out to him and haven't gotten a call back to see if he maybe has some ideas, knowing that he's tied into that avenue. But I don't know if anybody else has other ideas to look at.
I don't.
And assuming you guys agree that that would be a good way, that free money to help people is a good way to. It's hard to turn down. Open to the floor, thoughts?
No, I think that's a good thing, because it was close to us, because we knew that Bert was dealing with that over the years. And he'd been in the clubs. Bert's been in here since 2001. He's not a real active member, but again, he's running a retail business and he can't get away from that during the day. So it's
right.
Kind of hard. But we have done some things. When we were meeting, like I was telling Tim a while ago, we were before March of 2020, we were meeting a couple of years ago. We shifted. We were meeting up at Deercreek, and then we shifted and went over to Panera Bread at Southside and Bay Meadows, and we were just casually meeting in there, and each one of us was just ordering off the menu or not, and we would just meet in there and have our but Bert could make those meetings because he's like, a couple miles away, so he'd run down there for maybe and catch about half of the meeting around lunchtime. And
it's almost a shame you couldn't pull off the virtual ones when we've been virtual.
You'd have to go get in a room somewhere, and I'm sure it'd be a lot of distractions. Because if you've ever been in there, they're kind of going like this, Yeah,
and it's a small retail shop filled with flowers, and then a counter in the back where they're running around.
Right.
So I met him when I first started. We were doing the Panera meetings, and he's someone who seems eager and seems as involved as he can be. And since we hadn't seen him in a while, it'd be good to talk to him anyway. But also, I thought he might have some true ideas for that. I also thought I might have him talk at one of our club meetings about Dylan's dream. For those that don't know about that process, I thought that would be a good presentation. So I don't know if there are other ideas of avenues on that, of potentially looking at for that scholarship or not. Do you guys, Becky or Tim, do you have any thoughts on that?
No deep thoughts.
Only Jack Handies?
I'm still feeling my way around the area.
It might, maybe we just do a little survey among the members, send out a questionnaire or a survey ask anybody that can think of anything along, kind of spell out the parameters, anything that falls within that, just throw it out there and see if we can get something back, and then we can discuss it. I don't know what else to do.
I tried looking up some charities that focus on that, but I didn't really get anything nailed down. Becky, do you have any ideas that you can think of?
I don't, but I can certainly do some research on it. You're essentially looking for that scholarship money to go towards the handicap, mentally, physically challenged entities.
It defines it as physical disabilities.
Yes.
Out of the two.
Okay.
But yeah, it ultimately go to helping youth with physical disabilities, and the idea is it's supporting leadership development for those folks that have it.
Yeah, you should have gotten an email with an attachment that's got the meeting agenda for today. I don't know. You may
I'm looking at it now.
Came out at like 9 a.m.
look under point number 2.
Yes. Gotcha.
So that was kind of the 2-sentence version of a 4-sentence paragraph, but.
Okay. Wendy, if I could do a little bit of research to offer any input, is there a deadline that we want to have it decided by as to where it's going?
I mean, I would say if we can at least talk about it and see if we have any ideas for the next meeting, that wouldn't be a bad idea. We can send it out to the rest of the members. Our response rate's been hit or miss, other than Paul, Peggy, and Paula.
December 15th is the application deadline, so probably need to get it done by November, end of November.
If we at least talk about it next time, then we can see where we are and nail down, I figure.
And I can also send emails to you when I think of things. I mean,
Yep.
Continual email communication.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that. I'll definitely look into some options for sure.
So see what we can find. I'll talk to Bert on that, on his ideas with his other ties. Then we can come back together and see if we can find something to take it through.
I do know just from personal experience, when I worked as a teacher assistant in Orlando, I know that it's a lot of goals of parents of children with physical disabilities to be integrated into the normal middle schools and high
Right.
schools. And there's a lot of challenges there as to physical items that they need. So it could be something like that, where we could put that towards actual manipulatives and things that are necessary for them to function in a so-called normal atmosphere.
That's another avenue I thought might be good, just knowing that the bureaucratic red, it may slow that process down, but yeah. But I'm open to the idea, and so ultimately they have 2 applications a year, and it doesn't sound like this is going away. So if we shoot for the December 15th timeline and find that there's a bigger project that fits within it, then we can always continue it on. All right, moving on to bugs. So Tim, I talked to you about meeting with Becky somewhere in there, and then I kind of ended up at the library with my kids, so we sort of did a little bit of that. So she was going to kind of roughly get a feel for a little bit at King's Trail, and had suggested King's Trail as a school that would pretty much would fit the mold well for where this would probably be one of the more effective spots. So am I right to assume that the idea of a bugs program sounds good to everyone here?
Yeah.
Good. All right. So then I think we should go with the idea of trying to move forward with it. Becky, you were kind of softly broaching the idea a little bit with King's Trail last time we talked. Were you able to get any feel for it, or?
I have not reached out to them yet, but I definitely will today. This morning, I will make a phone contact as well as an email. I do have their information pulled up. I think it's the same principal that's been there for the last couple of years or more. I seem to recognize the name. If it is, she has not been responsive to my emails in the past, pre-COVID, for certain donations I wanted to make. But I'll go from there. I'll definitely make a phone call as well as an email to reach out, just to see if they would be open to the idea. Is that correct?
Yeah, open to the idea. Unless you guys disagree with me, I think the idea would be looking at one class, probably starting small, looking at one class. And then our next thing is we probably need to kind of pull in a budget for it a little bit, but it doesn't sound like it would be that extreme of a cost. And then ultimately, from that standpoint, do we want to make a kind of a small committee that's kind of the spearhead of that?
Definitely. And then we had also mentioned it'd be great, and if as that continues, hopefully if that begins and that continues, it'd be great to try to get some of the teen volunteers involved in possibly tutoring here at the library or something. But I know that's down the road. But that was also something if everyone's open to that idea as well. And I know y'all have teenage volunteers as well, right?
Our Key Club at Christchurch was open to it too. So I think there's nothing wrong with doing a tag team effort of having them available. Once we start getting the idea established, I think that's pretty easy to pull those 2 groups in, since I'm assuming they're fairly responsive to you, in a timely way, as well as the Christchurch ones as well. And from there, I think we'd probably look at, if they can't go into the school, which they probably can't, potentially finding some time in the library room or in the children's area or something like that would be beneficial as well.
And let me just recap to make sure, when I offer this idea to King's Trail, it would be at no charge to them because this is part of our donation part of it, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
So it'd be us getting the initial packet of stuff and then figuring out our prizes for success, and then also figuring out, do we want to hold a pizza party for them or something like that when they show the success. And that's, correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody else heard differently, but that's basically the budget items that I see. Is just the initial packets and and then what level of rewards we do, which can be a balance of some things that you guys might have access to versus us getting some pencils or things like that.
Sounds good. I'll definitely let you know that as well. The feedback I hear from them. Yep.
And I will, so while you do that, I figure you're probably going to be on that committee. I figure a committee of 3 or 4, knowing you've got those ties, and then I'll put in a recap email. I'll throw in for if somebody's interested in being on that committee to reply, and then we can shape that committee a little bit more.
Sounds great.
Am I on that committee, Will?
Would you like to be on that committee?
I would like to be on that committee.
I thought you would be a good option to do. I figure since we have some that aren't here, I'd email it out and then we'd pick, but I figured you would be good. That'd be a good thing to get involved with. We talked a couple meetings ago about other projects. Now, we talked about potentially supporting refugees if some of the Afghanistan refugees came in town, and it didn't, as far as I'm aware, I don't think a whole lot's happened with that, of any of those refugees being brought to Jacksonville. And Paula had, last time I checked, had not heard any more after that initial communication had been put out by one of the groups she was tied to. We did clear mass for the elementary school a year ago. I don't know if we have other ideas. October 23rd is Kiwanis One Day. So if we could do something around that, that would probably be a good way to give back and be tied into Kiwanis One Day. Our timeline short, and we also are looking at that bugs program. Anybody have any ideas or thoughts on program to put together? And maybe one of them is looking at donating similar mass setup to King's Trail as a kind of a bridge in also. Double whammy of doing things, but thoughts? It's been a little while since we've done a good project though. So we want to look at see if in Becky's communications we can find out how many teachers and staff, teachers and the tertiary support services such as librarians and art teachers and things like that are dealing with kindergartners and first graders, and see if we can look at getting another purchase of those clear masks that allow the kids to see the teachers' mouths moving and learn the phonics better.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's critical in the learning process, of course. Yeah.
Yep.
I, for one, can testify to that because I have a grandson who was born, I don't know how many weeks premature, and had trouble with developing his speech. And he's in preschool now and is having trouble, especially with a mask. My son was very upset that he was not going to be able to watch the others and learn from the way they speak. So yes, I agree with the clear masks.
It seemed like a good thing when we did it last time. We did it at Mandarin Oaks. And I'm trying to remember how much it cost. I want to say it was like $130 or something like that for enough mat. They come in packs of probably 20 or something like that. And they covered, all the teachers that were needed for kindergarten and first grade, and seemed to work pretty well. So
Yeah.
Becky, since you're reaching out to King's Trail, and like I said, this may be a bridge in for bugs as well. Do you want to see if you can ask about the numbers for that and tell them what we're looking at doing? And
Absolutely. Yep.
okay.
May I ask how much we have in the service fund,
The charity account,
whatever you call it here?
that's what I call it, yeah. $135.
Yeah, I'll take charity. I'm not proud. So $135 is not going to go far.
No,
We'll have to do donations again.
figure out, yeah, we need some fundraising. We didn't do well on fundraising last year. Darnell Cookman, of course, Darnell Cookman, we're helping them. They don't really help us on that because they were part of our fundraiser and in previous years, and they sold lots of roses to their friends. They loved the project because here, so they could make friends with people. And we let them keep their profit. We didn't take anything from it. That was just a side deal. But to make a long story short, we didn't have a good year, and you can all know why, because of the community. We weren't meeting and seeing people and touching them. So it just didn't work well last year. So we kind of fizzled on our rose, but usually that would get us, several hundred, $300, $400, $500 a year we can make off of Valentine's Day, selling roses. And we'd buy them, Bert would put them all together for us, and we'd get them wholesale from Bert because he's a member. And then what I would do is I'd just credit his Kiwanis account for whatever we owed him. So it would be kind of a wash.
Well, and really the last couple of years, the rose sale hasn't been that big of a fundraiser for us, right?
It's not a biggie, no. We haven't had a real good big one in quite a while.
So that's probably something we need to start exploring on how can we, instead of us just really funding every project we ever do, how can we bridge the gap and delineate things a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm pulling up the invoice from the mass thing. So it was, when we did it last time, it was $143 that I think we split among the membership, and it was like a box of 25 or 30 or something like that.
What mass?
That clear mask. So when we did it for Mandarin Oaks,
Okay.
because it was through a company called the Clear Mask, I believe. Yeah, the Clear Mask LLC.
I don't know. You got it. So I don't.
Yeah.
I don't
So
have
I'll
the
look up. I'll pull up, find their website, pull up some pricing, that sort of thing, and send that out. I'll include it in the recap. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Upcoming schedule. So as I said in my email, my Tuesdays are going to start being pretty limited as to whether I can attend, especially in person. So I liked your idea of shifting to Wednesdays. Do we like that idea of shifting to Wednesdays for both?
Yeah, you remember when we did meet physically last year at the Deercreek Country Club? We had 8 people there. We had a good turnout.
Yep.
And the meal was free. They didn't bill me. So I think they just got surprised. They just said, well, it was just a gift for us because we were sitting there, and they, so they wanted to take care of us, hospitality. So, but in the long run, I'd have to see how it goes, because they had indicated to me that they can be busy on Wednesdays sometimes.
Something about a women's club league or something like that.
Club or something, and so, but they got a lot of seats in there. And of course, the outside's been, the patio is all redone, so they've got seating out there. We could sit outside, except on a cold winter day. But
we got a little while till that.
when we have those. So I thought Wednesday would be a better day to try that, so I'll check that out. But let's try to switch back to Wednesdays.
Okay, so I'm gonna, on the upcoming calendar, I'm gonna switch it to Wednesdays for every time. And I'll let you check with the club and just make sure that's feasible. It sounds like that
Yeah.
might be necessary. My Tuesdays and Thursdays will both be pretty shot probably for till the end of the year at least, so.
Okay,
So I'll update that. Does anybody have any other items they want to talk about? Okay. The other thing, so I took our leadership plan from last year and I basically just changed the officers on the top, but probably something we want to look at. And I feel like we should have a little bit more than just 4 of us to do it. Is
yeah, I'll talk to you all about that offline.
sounds good.
Some ideas.
So I figure that's at least worth looking at and considering. And then also if we stuck with the committee idea, I think the having somebody that a committee that looks at projects would be a good idea as well, because we kind of lose that in the mix. But I'm good with that being an offline conversation.
Yeah, well, those all look good to me, except the speakers and programs.
Yep. And I'd like to get Paula, Paul, and Peggy in the mix as well for things. So.
Okay, yeah.
And then the other thing is that, you know, trying to find ways to get some of our other members involved, which I know is easier said than done, would be something I'd like to see if we can think about. So that's for future conversation as well. But this was all kind of to strike up some conversation so we can spin it a little bit more defined.
Okay,
Cool. That's all I have organized today. So I appreciate everybody coming, especially with the last minute shift.
yeah. I don't have anything other to add.
Tim, Becky, you guys good?
Yeah.
Well, everybody have a great afternoon. And we're back on the 20th virtually. And then Pete, I'll wait for you before I officially change the Tuesdays to Wednesdays, just to check with the club, but.
Yeah, I could have checked with them today, but we're doing this, so next
Okay.
Wednesday I think I'll swing by there and just check it out myself personally, so.
I may in the recap put it in and just say it's contingent on you checking on availability for that.
Okay,
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
all right.
All right. See you soon.
See you.
Sounds good.
Bye.